Didn't this just happen 3 weeks ago? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Game time.
Dejavu is struck for the Cubs just like 3 weeks ago when they entered the Guardian Series, only 3 games out of the third wild card spot. The Cubs have dropped 2 games in a row to the Pirates following a 12-3 run entering Monday's game, only 3 games out. Cubs lost 5-0 on Tuesday and are now 71-68, 4.5 games out. Sam, it took a lot for these games to even matter, and we talked about that. We enjoyed that. But how are you feeling right now?
I like the deja vu element. This was one of those games I'm going to talk in the third segment about my pro analytics and why I think ballparks need to really be considered when judging players both offensively and as pitchers, and why analytics does a good job of that with WRC+, because I think the Cubs' issues at Wrigley Field this year offensively need to be talked about more, and we've hinted at it on the show, and tonight's the night we're going to go in. But at the same time, there's things about analytics I don't like, and that's the M word, momentum. I felt like when the Cubs came back against Pittsburgh, that almost was like 4 wins, because that just slid them right in to Washington, D.C., and I felt like led to that sweep. And that 8th inning on Monday night, once the Cubs fell behind 2-0, and it just felt like what's felt like basically a once almost every series at home occurrence where the game just feels out of reach, even though it's 2-3-0. So as I was watching it, I was just thinking about last night, and it felt like last night it just bled into it. I was listening to Counsell on the score today, and he's like, "Hey, we've done a really good job bouncing back from these things," and it's like, yeah, not really. I understand, after the San Diego thing, but first of all, you should have to bounce back that much from them. But you didn't bounce back in San Fran. You lost the next 2 there. You didn't bounce back in Cleveland. You got swept there. And tonight you fell flat on your face once again. But momentum is everything. And last night in that 8th inning, the Cubs lost all the momentum and all the positive vibes they had. They went in up, and the irony is, I don't have a lot negative to say about today's game.
No.
I thought the Cubs did a really nice job against Skeens.
Really good. 2 times in a row.
They just couldn't get the big hit. I got a couple stats on that for you. I thought Hendricks was predictably fine tonight. Nothing good, nothing bad, just kind of there. And then, of course, for the second consecutive night, one of the guys that has turned this bullpen around regressed to the mean with a bad outing tonight. It was Tyson Miller.
Yeah, so there's a few different ways to go on this for me, because there's the short term, there's the long term. What's too bad is, and the reason why I don't connect with, like, we were texting with Kyle from the Setup Man. Yeah. And he called Monday a disastrous loss. It's like, well, that one instead of the 19 others this year.
Yeah, no, there's been like 20 of them.
So I have trouble connecting with that. But it's true. Like, so they were 12-3 on this 18-game run, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're not overvaluing on a game-by-game basis, because we said 14-4 or 13-5, right? Like required.
Yeah.
Okay, well now
it turned into
12-5.
Yeah, it turned into 14-4.
Now you might not even finish at the goal despite all the good you've done.
Yep.
just because of 2 games. That's it. Maybe because of 1.
Yep.
Because here's the other thing that I feel like I'm detaching. I've become more detached as the seasons went along for multiple reasons. But the other reason that game may or may not matter as much as, like, I don't have a crystal ball. So the Braves and Mets might both keep winning anyways.
Right.
But you go into the 8th inning up 3 with 6 outs to go. Who's to say that game doesn't impact the next one and so on?
Yeah.
And now we have evidence to say that it might. I mean, if this team gets swept on Wednesday,
they won't.
The hope train has left the station.
Well, I think it's left the station regardless, but they won't get swept.
Well, and again, we've said that a couple different tiers this year,
and we've been right. They haven't made it yet.
So it would be disappointing for them to finish this stretch 12-6.
They're not going to get swept tomorrow.
But even so, even the 13-5 stretch, you lose 2 out of 3 to the Pirates, and you do it in a disappointing fashion, and that's just up, down, and I've tried my best. I want to be hopeful, and I will, because that's in my nature, and I think
we're not getting swept tomorrow. I'm not.
Positivity is healthy, but
we're 1-5 at home versus Pittsburgh this year.
Yeah, it's just not good enough.
But
there's a lot of things they need to address.
Well, yes. From today's game, I look at this season, Matt. I mean, you know me pretty well. You know me pretty well off the camera. Would you say, is it fair to say that I'm a not toxic person, whatever the opposite of toxic is, just kind of honest and there? That's fair to say, right? Hello? Are you there?
It is. By the way, the Cubs haven't been playing well for 2 weeks. They've been playing well since July 4th.
Right.
Those people that are saying that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm trying to, we're doing a show.
Yes,
together.
I would agree with that.
Okay, you'd agree with that. I've never had a toxic relationship of any sort. This 2024 season is toxic. It starts out in April with Justin Steele going down the first game of the year. It never felt great. And then they go 17-9.
Right.
Then May and June was basically like waking up every day and going to get a large cavity filled in your tooth for 2 straight months watching this team play. That's what it was. Getting drilled in the mouth for a cavity for 2 consecutive months. And they go and sweep Baltimore, and maybe they'll come back, and then boom, Wisniewski meltdown, sweep doubleheader, and we go into the All-Star break. And then you go, okay, well, All-Star break, there's still only 3.5 out. Come home, lose 2 of 3, get shut out. You lose 5 your first 7 with 3 shutouts to start the break. All right, forget it. Then they spark a little something against the Cardinals and the Twins and the White Sox, who are the worst team in the history of sport. And then, boom, they get swept by Cleveland. They take 2 of 3 from Toronto, Detroit, Miami, sweep Pittsburgh, sweep DC. Hey, it's 3 games, and boom, it's toxic. And I'm ready for the toxicity to be over. I am ready to talk about what this team could do to improve, because there's plenty of good here. Even though it didn't show up tonight, there's development with these young players. There's some pitchers that you really like. They got to get healthy. There's a good baseball team in here, and I'm ready to talk about how to make it great for 2025, because this is, you know what I mean? Enough already.
Right, and I haven't heeded my own advice. I went back into game mode and went game by game, and
You're human. We're all human.
Right,
we love this team. It's a disease.
Right, it really is. It really is. And they pulled me back in. And the thing is about Skeens, Sam.
Who?
Paul Skeens. They really did put together a good game plan.
They were great. They just
Not
couldn't
one
get the
start,
big
but
hit.
2 in a row, matter of days of each other. And they didn't score tonight.
Nope.
They executed a little bit last week with 3 runs. He threw 100 pitches tonight for the first time in over a month.
Bases loaded, 2 outs. Nico Horner in his career.
Right. Couple bases loaded chances.
Nico Horner in his career, including this season's disaster with runners in scoring position, is a 301 hitter with runners in scoring position.
Right.
This year, he has been now at 240, which means coming into this year, he was probably about 310. He continues to fail in big spots for this ball club. And I don't care about anything with Nico Horner offensively besides putting the ball in play and getting big base hits. I don't care if he hits 20 homers. I don't care about his OPS. Yeah. He just doesn't get enough. He's on this team to get big base hits. He hasn't done that. Suzuki had a bases loaded 2-out chance against Skeens. He tried to ambush him which I respected, right? He changed his approach in a big spot to try delivery. He was just late on it. Happ, first and third, 1 out. Not really going to get on Happ for that. The Cubs made Paul Skeens a better pitcher tonight. He found his changeup. He never uses it. Part of that's because he had to face the Cubs for the second time in 5-6 days, which is becoming a joke for the MLB, but that's a different story, different show. And you give Skeens credit. Hendricks was okay tonight. I didn't think he was as bad as his line was last time. I don't think he was as good as his line was tonight, somewhere in the middle. And it just didn't work out. But, I have a lot to say in the third segment about this ballpark, and the Cubs have to start really thinking about how to adjust to this ballpark because it's been really tough sledding here, basically since May.
Last thing on this, Kyle Hendricks, I'm going to soak in every single one of his outings the rest of the way. I'm not sure he's going to pitch next year, much less with the Cubs, so I'm going to enjoy that while he's here. I can't believe he faced literally the most opposite pitcher, not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Yep.
And competed. And so, yeah, I'm just going to soak it all in. It's been a great ride with him. He, along with others, are the money that's coming off the books. And so maybe there's a path for him to return, but I'm not counting on it. So
yeah, I don't. You know what?
I'm counting down his starts.
I'm not really in soak it in mode with anybody. And Kyle Hendricks is my favorite, probably my second favorite Cub of all time, and my favorite Cub from that golden era. So I love Kyle, but I'm not. This season's been a failure. They didn't make the postseason most likely, and I'm not in soak it in mode. I'm in. We better be playing baseball in mid-October mode 25. That's where I'm at right now. And then the other mode is dun, 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 football.
Imanaga against TBD on Wednesday. Pirates might go with Herman. They might go with Falter. Did they announce that?
No, I just thought that's where they were going, but I don't know because we just saw these guys last week.
Yeah,
so.
I think we're gonna see both. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe David Bednar and Aroldis Chapman.
Not a getaway day tomorrow. Still a 6:40 start, I believe.
Yeah, 6:40. Then a day off, followed by the Yankees series. So,
well, we won't be going to that game Saturday, but you could still catch us
beforehand. We'll be at Almost Home.
Yeah,
11-1 on Saturday. Not a live show, folks. Just a pregame hangout. 3801 North Clark Street. So, yeah, I'll be going home after that, watching Iowa State.
Welcome to Soldier Field.
Coming up next, Bears 4-point favorite Sunday. Coming up next, Justin Steele. News actually.
Good news.
Good news, but still a little mixed. We'll explain why. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your car alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one car. You always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. All the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your car alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Cubs and the Pirates, 6:40 p.m. Central Wednesday. You can hear every pitch of the Cubs hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by searching Cubs on the SXM app. And remember, next month we'll be doing a full media report, including the season that Marquee Sports Network had in the booth and otherwise. There was a mix of optimism and uncertainty following news of Justin Steele's elbow on Tuesday. Steele was scratched from his start, but the Cubs actually decided that before Monday's game. Of course, they didn't say that before the game, but that's what Jed Hoyer said on the score on Tuesday. Steele experienced discomfort in his last start, but threw a bullpen on Saturday in Washington, in which then all parties involved decided not to push it despite the imaging returning clean. With only 3.5 weeks left in the season, the Cubs and Steele have not determined if he will make another start, but if the wild card standings stay the same, then I would venture to say he shouldn't make another start. Sam, what about you?
I agree completely with what you said, and I'm going to go off topic on it and just say this. Anytime you hear elbow and pitcher, you get nervous. The imaging being clean is not a small thing. It's huge. That's it. Whether he pitches again this year or not doesn't really matter at this point. The fact that they didn't see anything structurally wrong with the elbow in the imaging is what is the best news of the day for the Cubs. Here's the concern. Justin Steele, what makes him successful is that when he naturally throws a baseball, on YouTube, I can't really do a demo here, but when he naturally throws a baseball, so your arm comes forward, he has this natural cut that he gets on his ball, right? That natural cut ride fastball. For those that don't know, that means he's coming from the left side, right? And his ball, it starts here, but then it moves to it would have to be the other way with the camera, but forget it. I can't do this on the fly. But it comes into righties, right? So it goes straight, and then it goes into righties. And that's what makes him successful. He misses barrels that way. Sometimes he misses bats that way. But the concern is that natural, motion that he does with his arm, that's just the way he throws. Is it strenuous on his elbow? And is it difficult? That's what caused, I think, his forearm issue last year. Obviously, hamstring unrelated. Just the way he pitches, is it stressful on his elbow? Because, he pronates. He's getting all this movement, and I don't think he knows how to do anything different. And that's what makes him a very special pitcher. But I'm concerned about the level of strain it puts on his arm in the future. And I don't really know if there's anything the Cubs could do about it. But hopefully that's not the case, and it'll just be clean. And life's full of scares, and you continue to move on from him.
Yeah, hopefully they continue to monitor that himself and the team at the Cubs, and because he has been durable for the most part, and
right.
So if they can monitor that, I think that would be great. And since June of 2022, he's been the Cubs' best pitcher. Well over 2 years.
I'd go as far as
finished fifth in Cy Young voting last year.
I'd go as far as to say since that date, he's been one of the 10 to 12 best pitchers in the land.
Yeah, and in his 22 starts this year, I know there was a stretch where we even were pondering what he was up to out there, but 22 starts, 3.09 ERA, 131 strikeouts, and 128 innings. He's the clear number one of the team, and as you said, maybe one of the top dozen the last 2 years plus. So definitely want to see him in Tokyo in mid-March, and whatever needs to happen to get there. If that includes him being in gym shoes the last 3.5 weeks, and that's what it is.
And I believe that Steele, he's had the surgery already.
Yeah, I think it was 2017.
Yeah. So, it's not that he's unfamiliar with that, but imaging clean. That's all that matters. I mean, imaging clean. There's no tears. There's nothing going on in there. So, just take a load off. Unless this team really, unless they win out this week, there's no reason to push them.
Okay. I hope they win out, but
well, they're not. So.
I hope
They're not, but we're not getting swept at home by Pittsburgh. We're 1-5 at Wrigley Field against the Pirates this year.
Are they favorites on Wednesday?
They'll
be at least a small favorite.
Well, what do you mean are they favorites? Imanaga's pitching, and we don't know who's pitching for Pittsburgh. I would go as far as to say if they're not at least minus 150, it'd be a travesty.
Well, let me take a look at that.
I don't think they have it up yet because they don't know who's pitching.
Well, we're also going to talk about the Wrigley Field wins and such coming up next.
Yeah, we are going to do that.
Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. With over 5 million active members, Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you and the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win. You receive the bonus. It's guaranteed. And the experience of playing with Prize Picks is so simple and fun. We are a few days in, to one Caleb Williams passing yard, getting you 1 win on Prize Picks every single week this month. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic W every football weekend in September. So you have 4 weeks of free wins. Don't miss the deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, run your game.
This episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The experience of searching for and then buying tickets on Game Time is simple. Plus, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB. It's a great weekend, folks. Aaron Judge trying to chase 60 home runs. Go use Game Time. Download the Game Time app today and go get a ticket this weekend. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee.
All right, well, we'll see what investigative reporter Sam Olber has for us, but there is evidence that is starting to mount about Wrigley Field not being the same ballpark we grew up with. I think it's the 2 video boards impacting the wind and how the wind operates throughout the stadium that is affecting the flight of the baseball. Sam, what do you have for us?
First of all, I'd like to do a segment the rest of the year, not a segment, but a part where, and we could sponsor it with FanDuel, and just I'd like to guess the line of the next Cubs game each day. I think I'll be really good at that. I'd like to say it's not out yet, at least where I'm looking. I'd like to say final answer, Cubs minus 170 for tomorrow would be my guess.
Before first pitch?
Yeah, right, or when it opens. So you said it, you think it's something with the video boards. I don't know if I could get there because it played normal last year. I just think it's been fluky with the weather. I just think when the Cubs have been in town, the wind's blown in a ton. And for example, this road trip that they had the last 2 weeks, the weather would have been great to hit, but the Cubs weren't there. And you got to understand, Matt, when the wind blows in at Wrigley Field, that's it, because there's no space to land hits. At Coors Field, it's different. You have the air that carries the ball out of the park, but what makes Coors Field such a extreme hitter's park is that the ball drops everywhere. There's so much space out there. There's no space. Paredes hit a ball today in the gap that probably would have been a double in any other park, but there's no space. And I just have some statistics that I'd like to run by, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
The Cubs' OPS this year at Wrigley Field coming into today, so it probably went down a few points, of course.
Yeah.
677. On the road, 728. That 728 OPS is good for about top 11 in baseball, top 12. 677 is at the bottom of the barrel. Opponents' OPS at Wrigley Field, worse, 649. So they're still out OPSing their opponents. And now listen to some of these stats here, Mateo. Jameson Tyone at Wrigley Field this year, 2.64 ERA. Road, 4.72. Kyle Hendricks, 5.32 at Wrigley, 7.32 away from Wrigley. Javier Assad, 2.30 at Wrigley, 4.01 away from Wrigley. Imanaga's not on here because he had that one start where he gave up 11 earned at Wrigley against the Mets. If you take that away,
inflation.
If you take that away, he would drastically be better at Wrigley Field with all the wind blowing in. So what does all this mean? Not a lot, but the Cubs, it just seems like I don't really know what the solution is. You think, well, the Cubs need to get more guys to hit home runs, but when the wind's blowing in, that's not going to work. Well, you need to get more guys that get base hits, but the balls don't fall. It's been a really rough year to hit, and the game quality at Wrigley Field's been awfully boring, I would say, most of the season with these games.
Well, this is one of the most boring teams of our lifetimes.
No, but Matt, Vegas knows the over-under every game is 7 and 7.5 because the wind's howling in.
I think it was 6.5 when it was skiing Steele.
Yeah, and that's absurd.
Yeah.
And, personally, what my solution would be, but people will laugh at it, is to play small ball and really try and manufacture more runs. And instead of waiting for something to happen with the wind, you make something happen by playing hit runs, stealing bases, butting at pitchers that aren't comfortable fielding it. But we, Major League Baseball doesn't believe in that. But I think the Cubs just in the second half alone, off the top of my head, I think they've been shut out now 5 times at Wrigley just since the All-Star break.
Yeah. Well, no, it was in the first several games.
Arizona, Milwaukee, Minnesota tonight. I think there might have been one more in there.
Was it the Blue Jays?
It was the Blue Jays.
On that Sunday, yeah.
Yep. So that's 5. You've been shut out 5 times at home since late July.
Not great. Not great.
I mean, and Suzuki, did you see him today when he hit that ball? He didn't believe that it wasn't a homer. He stayed on second base.
See, and I think that
he couldn't believe it.
Adding someone that's a step above everyone, I do think that could be the answer.
Yeah, just going to get a guy like
and there's a clear answer out there, and the Cubs won't even be at the hors d'oeuvres table with this brother, Soto.
Right.
They won't even be getting a chips and salsa with this guy.
No, they won't even get
and he's a clear fit. Clear.
What would you say
couldn't be more clear.
What would you say your favorite hors d'oeuvre is?
I don't know.
I know this sounds a little bit low class, but growing up, when I used to go to a bar mitzvah or something, I used to love a good mozzarella stick.
Those are good. Spinach and artichoke dip.
Remember in the middle of June when Patrick Wisdom hit a ball that looked like it might hit some sort of
that was the season
on Kenmore.
Yeah, that was the season.
And then the wind decided to just circle it and
bring the ball down to the glove.
I think he hit it 109 miles an hour and high in the air, and it didn't even go out.
And that's when he knew the season may or may not be tortured.
Any update on the line for tomorrow?
Minus 190.
Oh, it's even that high. So we got to put some boundaries in. I have to be within 5, so I was 20 off. So that's a miss.
Got it.
And what did you say? They might be small.
I said minus 140.
No, they should be. If they get swept tomorrow, guess what? I don't know. I'm gonna go watch an episode of
Could
Hard
be a
Knocks.
good band name, Small Favorites.
Well, I wonder what the over under is. Maybe it's 3. Maybe it'll be a 2-1 final.
I think it was 8.5.
Oh, I hope because if the wind isn't, that's another reason why Imanaga was such a great get, because if you just pitch him a lot at Wrigley in April and May and September, those fly balls that he gets are going to come in. Now, when the wind's blowing out a little bit, that's when it gets real dangerous for him. Let's get a quick weather report for tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that as I'm doing the propers here.
Oh, it's going to be it's going to be a little warmer tomorrow.
Yeah, warm, I believe, the next couple days. But there's only one game. But
well, no, yeah, there's only one game. Friday and Saturday, Friday and Saturday, Judge might not be able to hit a homer if he gets 2 swings with the wind.
Saturday there might be some flurries. Thank you so
Oh,
much for checking
boy.
out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us, I shouldn't joke about that, 20
Maybe
to
they
30
will
minutes. We
lose
give you all
tomorrow.
things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. All right. Let's see if the Cubs can salvage the series.
1-5 this year
with
versus the Pirates at Wrigley.
He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
There is momentum happening here. It's a bad take.